stakeholders, acting in collaborative partnership. At the conceptual level, this seems both logical and easy. Of course, we can say we have different roles in society, different responsibilities. Of course, we have to do it together. Let's share responsibilities, so on and so forth. But in reality, this is very difficult and challenging. To create effective multi-stakeholder partnerships in which all key stakeholders have a shared perception of the problem, agree on the most appropriate way to address the problem, and most of all, challenging to commit to fulfill their specific role in solving the problem. This means even if this does not fully satisfy their own interests. We humans are a social species, but we live in sectors and work in silos, in which we do not communicate, we do not understand, we do not work well with others. Often, we don't see the connections between what we do and what others are doing. We mostly associate ourselves with our own peer group, be it education, occupation, religion, ethnicity, or gender. That is human nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, when one understands and embraces the richness of our diversity, our society as a whole will benefit. In the realm of nature, we can see that diversity creates resilience. Though monoculture seems to flourish in specific circumstances and have enormous reproductive success, even to the point of overtaking other species. They perish, however, when something in the environment changes. In the same vein, we can see that a more diverse species has fewer problems in absorbing the changes, and it can even survive disasters. The question then is, how can our country, a government, embrace diversity and create the preconditions for the all of society engagement and partnership that was agreed through adopting the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. I am now participating as a patron to 2 local NGOs that focus on water-related issues. One is Water Mothers, which focuses on IWRM NDR, empowering women to play a central part in the provision, management, and safeguarding of water. The other is Nay Pyi Taw, which focuses on wash and toilet movement in public schools. Even before these 2 NGOs, I helped some communities that have water shortage in Chin State to get water. Among many things that I have learned from these experiences, one most important thing I have learned is that sustainability of the project is heavily depends on the level of involvement from the stakeholders. So, in toilet movement that we have started in public schools, we ask involvement of students, teachers, we ask from principals, parents, alumni associations, along with NGOs like us, government sectors such as MOE, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Health, as partners. Therefore, I truly am convinced that anyone who wants to bring transformation in society that is sustainable needs to get the involvement of all stakeholders. Then they must provide a condition where all stakeholders share their responsibilities and participate in inclusive 4Ps partnership, public-private people partnership, called 4Ps approach. In diversities, I find incredible strength. Allow me to elaborate what I mean by the 4Ps partnership approach. Through my participation in current style of public-private partnership activities, I met leaders from the public and private sectors who advocate PPP, especially in the wash sector. I have contemplated deeper on the current model and came to understanding that it is insufficient. We can do better than that. But the key here is if we are serious about the all of society engagement and partnership. Therefore, I think that we should focus on the people first kind of PPPs, which in other words, public-private people partnership. There is growing consensus that PPP need to become more about people. As a consequence, proponents of our current PPPs and governments are increasingly subscribing to strategies to incorporate the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, into their policy and planning documents with 4Ps. This people first approach, 4Ps, will increasingly encourage the conditions for financing current PPP initiatives by multilateral development banks and development agencies. I also think that we need to be aware of the fact that there is growing interest in sustainable, resilient, and regenerative PPPs. Also is visible when building projects in disaster-prone areas, exposing acute risks to peoples and properties due to climate change. Governments, investors, and insurers are more concerned about risk and demanding that projects take steps to mitigate it. It is also important that elements of regeneration be built into the project recovery strategy so current PPPs can recover quickly from weather events. Thirdly, current PPP's legal revisions and reforms focusing on better governance. Many countries are undergoing reforms or adopting legal frameworks to establish or improve enabling environments for current PPPs. In Myanmar, we are drafting the water law at the moment. I believe that the details will also follow in the coming years, which will help mitigate legal constraints that have caused developers and investors to avoid current PPPs in certain markets. Finally, there is an increasing need to consider national budget strategies, channels, and priorities. In times of financial stress, governments focus on developing budget strategies that identify economically feasible and affordable PPPs to match national development goals. This is leading to government requiring the ministries and national agencies to coordinate their project channels with national channels, often controlled by national treasuries and Ministry of Finance, to prioritize projects meaningfully. This may be the reason that we have the National Water Resource Committee, who can do the same on the national water budget. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to say that the very fact that all of us from diverse backgrounds gather here today and are talking about our shared concerns, as well as our commitments to Sustainable Development Goals 17 SDGs, is already a very positive step and very significant step toward SDG 6, which we're focusing on today, Water for All by 2030. Therefore, I believe that this goal is achievable as we celebrate each other's differences and continue in our collaborative efforts through public-private people partnership, thinking always, acting proactively, and bringing about a society that is kind and concerns for one another, with such commitment to leave no one behind. Thank you.